I'm Lori DeToro, Communications Manager for Turntide Technologies. Thank you for joining us today for the Current and Wave webinar discussing the best practices for customer success on the electrification journey. We are very pleased to have Terrell Tuten and Max Carruthers presenting today. But first, we're going to get some housekeeping tips shared to you so that you know how to interact with us. This presentation is being recorded and will be available on demand on the Current and Wave website. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation, so use the Q&A, not the chat section, but the Q&A section to ask your questions anytime during the webinar, and we will answer as many as possible when we finish the presentation. Also remember, as I always say, that this is a live event, so when we mess up, and we will, laugh along with us. That's it for housekeeping, and we're ready to begin. Terrell, let's get started.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you everyone that's joining us today for taking time out of your day to spend it with us. We recognize that there's a lot of opportunities to attend webinars out there, so we know that you have to be mindful of the time that you spent and commit to things like this, so we hope it's worth your time. Our goal for today is really to provide you a blueprint of how to navigate the journey to electrification, but we're going to do this with a slight spin. We're not going to focus on products. We're really going to focus on processes and the support that we feel like is important and required from partners to help companies like yourself go through this electrification journey. So I'm going to start us off by explaining the concept of how we view customer success. It's a term that's, you may have heard in other organizations, and something I've learned over the years is that it really means different things to different organizations and different companies. So my aim is really to explain what customer success means to us and hope that it's a guide for you as you make your own electrification journey. And then Mac's going to take over and really walk you through the importance of the product selection and just getting it right the first time, and the value of having a partner through implementation, testing, and really post-implementation support. So with that, there we go. Let's talk a little bit about customer success. So what does that mean to Turntide? And I'll start by saying it really is, it's built on what I would call three pillars, right? So customer success is not just an organization or a function within Turntide. It's really a philosophical approach about how we interact and work with our customers. And it really starts with our leadership team setting the vision for the company that we want to be, and the partner that we want to be to our customers that are out there. And so they're the ones that set the tone, and it really permeates throughout the rest of our organization. So helping our customers achieve goals is really at the forefront of everything that we're trying to do. And the second pillar is really adopting what I call a customer-centric mindset. So what does that mean? Well, specifically, it means that each of our products, each of the functions that we implement or the processes that we implement and the roles that we have in our company really start with answering one simple question, and that is, how does this impact our customer? For every decision that starts with a goal, and a customer impact assessment is done. And those decision points then at that point allow us to put in the right roles, the right people, or the right processes, if you will, to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to support our customers. And then the third pillar is really, it's beyond product sales. So, it's important for us that we're able to understand our customers' business and their objectives, and then making sure that we're aligning them with the right skill set within our organization, as well as making sure, again, that we have the right tools and the right processes in place to make sure that we're supporting you through that. And so really, at the heart of all of this is we want to make sure that we are focusing on making our customers successful. And if we do that, then in turn, Turntide should be successful, right? So it's a really simple philosophy that we try to follow. So with that, I talked a little bit about process, right? So how do we translate the concept of customer success into our processes? So I won't share an all-inclusive list, but I'll walk you through a couple of examples of how I feel like we as an organization are leveraging the concept of customer success in some of our processes. So first, it starts at the very beginning with, or our relationship, I should say, with product selection. So we partner our sales directors with our product applications team, which Max, who's joining me today, is a part of. And it really provides a consultative approach to help ensure that we are providing the right products to achieve your goals. Our customers are simply not buying from a catalog, but rather buying a solution based on an in-depth understanding of your requirements. So then once you've placed your order with Turntide, then what happens, right? So we recognize that a lot of the work for our customers begins once they receive our products, right? So understanding when products are going to be delivered and inside for you to start your onboarding and integration is paramount to the success of what you're trying to achieve. And so our sales operations organization is really on point for making sure that we are conducting order acknowledgments for every order that comes into Turntide, and that we are providing timely updates and customers that are consistent and accurate so that you can plan your own work streams beyond getting the products from us, right? So it's very important that we keep you informed of the status of your orders so that we make sure that those are getting to you in a timely fashion. And now that you've got the products in your hand, what comes next, right? It's really this onboarding and integration. So having consistent, reliable support, we feel like is critical, and making sure that you're validating these tests and testing our products with the best foot forward. So by leveraging, again, Max's team that he's a part of, they're joining you early in the sales process, but then they're really continuing to support you and help lead your testing functions after the fact. So we want to make sure that we've got the right resources that are really working in concert with you to make sure that you've got the right knowledge and skill set from our organization to achieve what you're trying to do. And so Max is going to dive into that a little bit more in his session in just a few minutes. Another area is just around post-deployment support, right? So now that you've gone through testing and onboarding and you're really going into production with whatever product that you're selling to the public, right? How do we support you post-deployment, right? So making sure that we're providing, whether it's online tools or live chat conversations with our quality assurance team or our product applications team. It's really making sure that we've got the experience and the knowledge of those team members available to support these customers. It's not a scenario where now you've gone into production and it's kind of wash and kind of forget and move on. We know that we've got to have support for our customers out there post-deployment. So that's really what that function is just making sure that we've got the right tools, in some cases online tools or live conversations, to make sure we support you. And then this may seem like a little odd piece to have in here around escalation process, but listen, at the end of the day, we know that sometimes things are not going to go as planned, right? And so our goal is to be as transparent as we can with our customers. So for our customer-facing roles like Max and the product applications group or our sales team, they are able to follow an internally established escalation path, because we've got a lot of supporting team members that are out there so from manufacturing to product to engineering, all of those teams have dedicated resources that allocate a percentage of their time to ensure that we are supporting our existing customers and not just focused on building new products. But that leads me into the next topic, and that is around building products. So we've got a product team that consists of very seasoned industry veterans that have spent decades building innovative and really groundbreaking products. And so they're the ones that create the vision for our product roadmap, but they do that with the support of our customers and making sure that we're leveraging that customer feedback loop as we start to build new products within our organization. So now that I've talked a little bit about process, I'll spend a little bit of time or a few minutes on customer success as an organization within Turntide. And again, I'll share some of our responsibilities and really what our purpose is within Turntide. So really at the forefront of this, it's really monitoring the overall customer journey for each of our customers. So we're responsible for ensuring that our internal teams are aligned on our customers' goals and deliverables, and ultimately their success. So as with any organization that's got many functions, it's essential that these teams are in alignment on what we must deliver for our customers. So think of the CS team as really this connective tissue that aligns the organization on a lot of these deliverables. One of the second functions for us is really, I would call it customer advocacy. So not just making sure that teams are focused internally on deliverables for customers, but also being that voice of the customer back into our organization, whether it's product enhancements or post-deployment support. Our CS team is really the person that's responsible for ensuring that he or she is aware of everything that's going on internally with that specific customer that they're responsible for, and making sure that we are following through on any of the commitments that we've made to our customers. And as part of that process, they're the ones that are really responsible for teaming up with our sales operations team to make sure that we've got production schedules that meet our customers' needs, right? So the CS role, the customer success manager role within Turntide, part of that responsibility is working very closely with customers to understand their production schedules and make sure that we're feeding that information back into our organization so that we have effective planning processes in place to make sure that we can meet those deliverables. And then really kind of the last piece I'll touch on is really just kind of being this trusted advisor. So, our goal and focus for the CSMs to make sure that gives our customers really a key point of contact post deployment. So we have a lot of salespeople that initially are brought in and are the initial point of contact, but over time, we really want that team focused on selling, and we want the CSMs really being that point of contact. It's really there to work on your behalf internally within Turntide to make sure that you've got everything that you need. So part of that is understanding your business, understanding your goals and objectives and where you're headed, and making sure that they're following through on commitments on our side, and making sure that we're doing what we can to support you in your journey. And so that's a little bit about the function of the team. And then the last topic I'll just touch on before I hand it over to Max is I want to talk a little bit about measuring customer health. So this is kind of a broad term. And I'm really going to touch on kind of three areas of this that for the purposes of this conversation. The first is really, how do we capture the voice of the customer? So if one of our goals is to excel in exceeding customer expectations, it's critical that we listen to what they have to say about our products, about our services, and quite frankly, about our people, right? So earlier this year, we launched our initial, what we call our customer satisfaction survey, right? And this dove into a lot of different areas of what it was like to work with Turntide as an organization. But as a result of that exercise, one of the common pieces of feedback that came out of this survey was that we didn't have a very established process, or we weren't very good at educating our customers about how to get post-deployment support, right? So whether they were going back to the sales rep or they're going to the product apps, there's really no common theme about how to actually reach out to Turntide to get support. And so we took that feedback, we discussed it internally as an organization, and we made the decision that as a first step, we were going to implement an online tool that would allow customers to actually reach out to Turntide. And it's a little, it's not a phone call, but you're able to actually go online, log in a question or a concern, or if you've got a return authorization that you need, you can do all this online. It gives clear visibility to our customers. It allows them to see the movement of information between Turntide resources as well as customer resources, and helping you understand as it's progressing through to resolution on our side. Ultimately, that's our goal, is to be as transparent as we can. So we've just started piloting that with a couple of customers, and our goal is to actually roll that out to everyone over the next few years. So that's one way that we actually adopt and get voice of the customer back into our organization. The second is really analyzing our product performance. So like with any product, at times there's going to be a failure that requires remediation, right? It just happens. And we've got a very dedicated, focused quality assurance team that works closely with with our engineering and our product teams to analyze that information that's gathered as these instances occur, so that we make sure that we're building that in to drive future product enhancements. And then the last piece I'll just touch on before I hand it over to Max is around scorecard alignment. So many of our customers have their own internal scorecards by which they measure suppliers. Each of them are unique in their own way. And so our CS team really works across the entire organization to review these scorecards and identify things that maybe are not up to par or up to the standards of our customers, and put remediation plans in place. Now, they don't all get done at once, obviously, but really the goal of the CS manager is to make sure that he or she is taking that information and working with the teams internally to drive process or product improvements within our organization. So ultimately, our CS managers, their success is directly tied to the success of their customers. And so that gives you a little bit of flavor of what we're building within a CS structure within Turntide. And what I'd like to do now is turn it over to my colleague Max, and Max will drive you or lead you through really that post-sale, getting into that implementation phase of the product. So Max, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Terrell. So as Terrell said, my name is Max Carruthers, and I'm a product applications engineer here at Turntide Technologies. Today, I'm going to try and talk you through our applications engineering process. Next slide, please, Terrell. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to take you through our industry-leading applications engineering process. So that's where we take customers from the initial engagement with the sales team right through to product success and using our products successfully in the field, and how we support each stage of the way. And I'm going to talk you through what our world-class applications engineering team have to offer to get through that process, including things like global coverage and a combined decades of industry experience. And I'll give an overview of the process itself. So the traditional order of the who, what, when, where, why, how, I've changed up a little bit to match the slides better, but I'll cover all of those aspects of the process as well. Okay, next slide, please, Terrell. Okay, so we'll start with why. So why is it important? Why does a customer need a strong applications engineering support process? The biggest thing for us really is to get it right first time. So that means fewer mistakes, it means less wasted time, it means faster development cycles for customers, and it means reduced development costs. The other thing that we can offer is a breadth of expertise, so customers can tap into Turntide's wide knowledge and experience base across electrification in general. We have an understanding of the common pitfalls of particular products, of markets, of applications, and we can advise on those. And we can also provide advice on peripheral system and integration, including use of our support in integration tools and knowledge to get the products into the application. We can also perform integration reviews, so we can work with customers to review how the product fits into their system, look at things like the interfaces, boundary conditions, how the product's going to be used, and make sure that the application will be successful when it's in use. Through the process, we can provide a consistently excellent customer experience, so we can identify and execute the next best step every time. And we can give great support across multiple products through multiple applications and with a variety of supporting engineers. And finally, it means that we can drive effective solutions. So we can find a suitable solution from standard products for applications with very specific requirements. Next slide, please, Terrell. So we'll move on to the how. So how can you leverage a standardized process when every application is unique? Every single application really is unique, and what we have to do is we have to ensure we've got a flexible and agile process. We need to be able to adapt to the customer's requirements, whether that be a difference in timeline, a difference in experience, a difference in the level of product maturity. And we need to have the agility to change as the customer does. We appreciate that throughout the integration journey for a product, things might change and we need to be able to change with them. It also allows us to cover different markets, so markets in terms of industry, geography, and customer size too. And that means that we can ensure the process can adapt to suit the situation, whatever the situation. It gives us comprehensive coverage, so the process makes sure that we can ensure all details are considered, and it also makes sure we are given the aforementioned right first time every time. We can call on team experience as well, so we have a diverse and team with a good depth of knowledge and understanding, and we can call on that. We have a lot of cross competency between engineering disciplines and engineering and products as well, and we can prevent differentiation between different customers, different markets, different products by leveraging and following the process. It means that all team members are able to work at the highest level by leveraging the best practices across the whole company. And we haven't made those best practices up. We've pulled those from industry best practices. So we've learned from others, we've looked for improvements, and we're driving for continuous improvement. And we've brought on a lot of the best practices from the experience of the engineers that we've got in the company. And yeah, like Terrell said, how we can do this, we can support this with an online service portal. So, effectively customers have a direct interface with the applications team to ask questions, to raise concerns, to see how we're progressing through the process. And we can do this with regular updates or ad hoc questions or even a sort of, ticket related information in that portal. Okay, next slide, please, Terrell. So we'll go for when. When does this support process happen? So, really it happens throughout the customer's interactions with Turntide. So it starts at the identification of a potential opportunity to work together on an application. And as soon as we're notified by a salesperson that, we've got a customer, they're interested in our product, we'll kick off the process. That'll continue throughout the interactions with a customer. So all the way from the first technical interaction through all of the stages that I'm going to talk about later in the slides. And we'll even continue to support once a customer's in production with our product. And really, this support can happen whenever a customer needs it. So we want customers to feel that they can reach out to Turntide at any time. Of course, the portal supports that and helps with a place to ask those questions anytime. And we can support a cadence that suits any customer. So whether that be regular meetings, weekly, fortnightly, or totally ad hoc, just as soon as the question arises or assistance is needed, we can help anytime during a customer's integration. And what we can do as well is work quickly and effectively and support quickly and effectively. So again, we're supporting based on what the customer requires, and we can do that through agreement of service levels or agreement of the expectations early on with the customer. Okay, next slide, please, Terrell. So in terms of the who, it's not just the product apps team that provide this process. We need to collaborate within Turntide to do it. So we need to collaborate cross-functionally. So that means the sales and applications teams working closely together to drive progress, as Terrell mentioned earlier. And it means also working with other teams within the company. So, working closely with the engineering team to develop our understanding of the products, and working closely with the operations and logistics teams to make sure that we understand where the products are, how they are, and when you're going to get them. It means that we also have the flexibility and agility to support a variety of customers and applications because of that collaboration. And we need to base this on a good level of mutual trust and understanding to be able to deliver our service effectively. And that's a pretty sort of pivotal part. We need to work really closely with the sales team and understand what they're telling us about their customers, and also we need to feed back to them as well and make sure that any technical requirements or any changes are captured too. So on that point, Turntide have a really strong sales team for this. They're customer focused, they're progress driven, they have a great understanding of the product and the process that I'm talking about today, and they do have a really great interface and relationship with the applications engineering team. We also have a dedicated and well-trained applications engineering team. We're all champions of the process. Like I said earlier, we have a breadth of experience and knowledge across different products, across different applications, across different industries, and that comes from a diversity of background. The applications engineers are carefully selected to be very good at what they do. We have a culture of strong and thorough teamwork. We don't just work individually. We talk regularly. We have regular stand-up meetings where we can discuss issues and make sure we're pulling on experience from other team members. We're all customer focused and success driven within the team. And for all of us, really, we don't see the job as just a 9 to 5. We're focused, we're passionate about what we're doing. And then in terms of who on the customer side, who can we support? Really, that's any customer. We're able to support new startups all the way through to huge expert companies, basically whoever takes Turntide's products. And in that respect, we can provide support, but we can also provide guidance. Like I said, we've got a wealth of experience in the electrification industry. We don't just want to keep that to ourselves. We can help customers with that too. Next slide, please, Terrell. And a little bit about the where. So where does this process happen? I mean, it starts within Turntide. So we have strong training and development plans for all of the applications engineers, and applications engineering train other parts of the company too on the process and on how we work and on the products. We drive towards continuous improvement and functional excellence, and we also call upon the strength of the team. In terms of where do we do the support of a customer, well, that could be remotely. So we have apps engineers always readily available to provide remote support. We can give regular updates, like I said, and that can be with a cadence to match the customer's requirements. We have a strong process within Turntide that we can follow to provide that remote support and strong tools to support that. And like I said, we have good teamwork and a good knowledge sharing ethic in the team so that we can provide that remote support better as well. It might mean that we can pull in other engineers onto technical calls to answer particularly difficult questions, for example. We can also give direct support. We have engineers all over the world. We have a team in North America and Canada. We have a team in the UK, in Europe, and then we also have a team in India. So effectively we have global coverage of direct support for customers. And the engineers within the team are portable and flexible. We can pretty much travel at a moment's notice and come and support you at your site with any issues or integration support that you might have. All of the engineers in the team have great practical skills, so that direct support is something that we're good at, we're capable at, and we can make sure that we're given a good level of support on the ground. And we also have equipment that we can use, that we can bring with us to perform testing, that we can use to investigate issues, that we can use to confirm that the products are working to the best of their ability in the application. Okay, next slide, please, Terrell. And perhaps now the key part, the process itself. So what actually needs doing in terms of the process to get a customer from concept to completion? So I'll go through each of these stages in a little bit more detail in the following slides, but basically we start with onboarding. That's bringing on the customer, preparing to support them, making sure all the prerequisite paperwork is in place to do that support. We go through product selection, so we get the right solution for the customer, make sure we get sign-off from the customer, between customer and Turntide, so that we both understand what product's been selected and what we're going to move forward with. We provide integration support. That could be remote integration support or design integration support. So that's helping you to get the product integrated into your design. And we can prevent integration issues from occurring during the installation stage by doing this and doing a design review. We can also provide physical integration support or commissioning support. So that's making sure the product is working and making sure you're satisfied with the solution. And then application sign-off, that's a mutual understanding that the system's working. That's us providing confidence to you that the product will perform when it's in your application. And then finally, once the product or the application is in production, we don't stop there. Like I said earlier, we provide ongoing support and we provide issue resolution as well. And that's to a detailed and repeatable industry standard 7-step problem solving process. And that makes sure that we can give continued customer success and satisfaction. Next slide, please, Terrell. So we'll start with the onboarding. So what needs doing to properly onboard a customer? Well, we start with gathering the required sales information to work well with the customer. So make sure we understand who the key contacts are. So that's not just the commercial contact with the customer. That might be the primary technical contact. That might be the logistics contact. That might be the purchasing or sourcing contact. We start to take top level application information. So whatever's known at that point, so we can start to walk the path to the right product. And we'll start to look into the volumes and timeframes that the customer needs, so we can make sure that we're giving the right level of support. We also need to make sure that we're set up to be able to gather and share information. So, often a lot of these applications are something that's new to a customer, something that's special, something that they don't want other people to know about. And, equally, Turntide needs to be able to share information about the products so that customers can understand what they're getting and how it's going to work. So this might be things like ensuring NDAs in place and having somewhere safe and secure to store the information that we gather. At this point, we start understanding what the customer needs. So we need to make sure that we know where we're headed, what the sort of product lines are, if you like, whether it's motors or inverters or thermal products or batteries. And then we can start to go forward with the commercial and technical engagements. We also, at this stage, like to gauge what the customer's understanding of the product, the application of electrification in general is. That means we can understand the level of support required and understand the level of guidance required too. We want to be able to act quickly and decisively. So that means that there's fewer moving parts at this stage. We can burn through these steps pretty quickly. And this is kept within sales and apps, so we can make sure that we're not holding any processes up externally at the customer or within Turntide. And here, what our deliverable is a solid relationship with the customer from which we can start to go through the product selection process. Next slide, please, Terrell. Okay, so what is product selection? What does that actually mean? What do we do? So we start by making sure that we fully understand the customer's requirements. That means asking the right questions. It means understanding what's critical and what can be flexible. And it means recording that information so that we have a good reference and so that we can use it to inform the next steps. We ensure that the right product is selected. So as I said earlier, this is finding a standard product from our product portfolio that fits a specific solution. And ideally, we want to try and match the customer's requirements exactly. This means identifying the exact part number so that other processes can kick off immediately. In this process, we do identify if potential changes or modifications are required to the standard parts we already have. We don't want to be inflexible. We want to be able to provide the right solution. So we can generate new parts and part numbers and identify those at this stage and make sure we've got drawings available and an understanding of exactly what the system's going to look like. And at this stage, we want to get buy-in from the customer. We want the customer to understand that the product selected is what we think is right and why. We want to confirm that selection, and we want to make sure that the customer is happy to pursue that product. We use established and reliable methods to do this. So we have what we call a critical information survey. That means a set of questions that are used to gather the information required to select a product. And for 90% of applications, this gets us to pretty much the stage of product selection. At this stage, we can also use the engineering team to clarify any queries and develop further understanding. And if that critical information survey that answers flags up anything that we need to know, we'll have those discussions. We'll talk about further requirements, and we can gather and record those requirements too. Ultimately, the deliverable here is we want to find a product and select a product that's going to be the right product for the application. Next slide, please, Terrell. But what happens at product selection? What if a customer is unsure on their requirements, or they really want Turntide to do the recommendation? Well, we can start with a bit of education. Electrification can be pretty complex, and not everyone's familiar with the products that Turntides offers. So we can provide a pretty comprehensive set of product information, and we can explain why we need the requirements and what those requirements do and how they drive us towards product selection as well as I said earlier, using the understanding that Turntide has of the electrification industry to provide recommendations or to further the technical discussion. At this stage, we can then identify the options. So we can provide options to allow a customer to have some choice over the product or products that we might move forward with. We can explain the advantages and disadvantages of each option. And at this stage, we can provide innovative and radical solutions to a customer's requirements. And we can pull in Turntide's products. Obviously, we also have partners that we can use. So, if there's a certain set of requirements that one of Turntide's products can't fulfill, we can use one of our partners to work with us to provide the full solution. Ultimately, what we want to do is drive towards a customer's requirements nonetheless. So we want to ask the right questions. We want to use the experience of the team and the process to identify the best product. And we want to identify opportunities to gather or derive more requirements from the understanding of the application. Drawing on team experience here helps because we can use well-developed requirement gathering and interpretation steps and tools to get those requirements. And as I said earlier, in the product selection, we can call on engineering if there's any other sort of complex requirement questions too. We want to provide a formal recommendation, really. That might be one product, it might be options of products. We'll state our assumptions, we'll state the justification, why we think the product's right for the application, and we'll help a customer understand why we think that that's the solution. Ultimately, the deliverable here is still a recommended individual product, but like I say, we could give a few choices and recommend what we need. Okay, next slide, please, Terrell. Okay. Once the product's selected, at that stage we should be in agreement with the customer, and that might be when a purchase order could be raised against that product, and the applications team will start jumping on actually helping a customer get that product integrated into their solution. So what does that mean? What happens when remotely supporting the integration? Effectively, this is supporting the design stage. So we'll start by providing the required information, a collateral package, if you like, manuals, guides, data sheets associated with the product. We'll provide drawings and CAD specific to the certain part number, and we'll provide software and firmware where required for our power electronics products. We'll continue to answer any questions a customer might have. We'll keep a track of those so that they're available for reference in the future as well. We'll make sure we're answering in a timely manner, and we want to make sure that the customer is as prepared as possible to actually do the physical integration when that time comes around. With certain products, we'll perform pairings. So that means making sure that a motor and an inverter are sort of fully characterized and the inverter can properly operate the motor. We can do that with our products, with our motors and inverters. We can also pair, partner inverters and partner motors with our products too. We can review the system design with the customer. So we can do collaborative design reviews, identify issue points, look at the interfaces and boundaries of the system, make sure that that the requirements for the product are being adhered to as well as the requirements for the application. We can help with common pitfalls, and it's good for us too. So we've learned and continue to learn from experienced customers and develop our knowledge base around integration. And at this point, we want to make sure that product requirements are considered. We want these products to be operating to the best of their ability in a customer application, and that starts with making sure that they're in the right situation to do that. And again, we can collaborate with engineering still and provide, more information, answer more complex questions. And we have information that we've received from engineering, or that we keep updated with collaboration with engineering, things like specification stores for products. So we have a vast wealth of information that we can tap into to answer specific questions. We have selection tools we can use to aid us or guide us in selecting certain products or understanding how the product's going to work in an application. And we have simulation tools we can use as well. Ultimately, what we're driving towards here is a sort of approval or a successful design review where we're happy the product's going to perform and the customer's happy that the product's going to perform. Next slide, please, Terrell. So once we've supported remotely, the product gets delivered. What happens then? Well, this is the sort of physical integration and commissioning. So to begin with, this can be sort of hands-off or hands-on, depending on what a customer needs. We can visit a customer if requested or required. We want to make sure that the business case is there for visiting the customer from both parties, just so that we can ensure that the best value of chance of success for both Turntide's product and the customer are there. We can provide a framework for integration and commissioning. So that means ensuring that the product interface and operation expectations are clear. We'll explain that the metrics that are going to be measured against to say whether a product has successfully been commissioned or not. And we can show customers what does and doesn't work with the products, what might cause damage, what might improve the performance that can be gained from the product. At this point, we'll continue to help solving integration issues. We want to get the product up and running in the application as fast as possible and as effectively as possible. We'll help to resolve operational issues, and we can identify further integration improvements as well if the development cycle allows. We want to sign off the application as commissioned. So that's what we're aiming towards. We want to test the product, measure against a defined checklist, understand and mitigate any risks at this point, and really maximize the chance of product success. And this is, driven by the customer, but not only that, it's driven by the apps team too. So, we want to have proactive communication and proactive integration work to make sure that the product and application are a success. And this is backed up by testing and support from the engineering team as well. Ultimately, what we're driving towards here is an operational product in a customer's application. Next slide, please, Terrell. So application sign-off sounds a bit scary. It sounds like a sort of a handover point, if you like. But what does it actually mean? Basically, what we're trying to do is provide maximum confidence in our product. So, this effectively is our guarantee that the product will perform in the application. It gives us a clear framework for success, basically. At this point, we'll identify any critical issues. So this is our last line of defense before the start of full production for an application. And we can consess here and agree on acceptable levels of risk if we've got any concerns. We want to be able to provide a basis to enable a strong warranty, a good warranty, and understanding of that Turntide's going to be happy with the product in operation, and that the customer is going to be happy with the product in operation as well. This draws a line of separation effectively between product issues and application issues. It can identify sort of like reduced requirements on the warranty, so it's easier for the customer to deal with warranty issues, and it saves everyone involved time and money. This means close multidiscipline collaboration, though. So we have to work closely with the customer. We have to understand exactly, how the product is operating, how it's going to be used, any sort of concerns that are there, and it includes working with a variety of teams internally as well. So that means engineering, quality, and operations as required. Basically, what we're trying to achieve is full confirmation of product and application suitability and full confidence from the customer that the product's going to perform. Next slide, please, Terrell. So once the application's signed off and production started, we don't want to just stop there. We want to keep supporting customers. So, what do we actually do to continue to support customers after the start of production? Well, effectively, we start by always being available to a customer. So we have the dedicated applications engineering inbox. We have the incoming portal system that we've talked about. And we're also accessible via our emails, our phones, and we've become a technical point of contact at this point for customers. So we can be contacted through the normal channels too. In case of any issues, we do have a sort of industry standard 7-step problem solving process. This means we get to issue resolution quickly. It means that we drive permanent internal issue resolution, so other customers don't experience the same issues, or the same issue isn't experienced again by the same customer. And it's a widely used and recognized structure, so we know we're doing the right thing. At this point, we have close collaboration with the quality department, so if issues do occur, we talk to them, we identify whether it's an application or a product issue, and we adhere to the right process. That might be our 7-step problem solving, or it might be the internal 8-step return authorization process too for quality. We use this information and we gather a library of resolutions. So we generate applications notes that we can use within the company to better understand integrating our products into applications. We update our product collateral based on feedback and issues. We make sure that we feed forward the information that we're receiving from customers into product development. And ultimately, we end up with effectively ready-made solutions for issues in the future. The idea being, of course, that through the issue resolution and sort of library of resolution process, that we further reduce any potential issues in the products. And for this, we pull from the full company-wide knowledge range. So we can tap into a lot of different teams to be able to provide issue resolution. That includes operations, logistics, advanced manufacturing engineering, our development engineering teams, quality, software and controls, and more. And the deliverable here really is world-class product support. We want to make sure that we're industry leading in our support of our products in the applications that customers have them. Okay, I think that's my last slide, Terrell. So thank you, everyone.
It is. Laurie, we will hand it back over to you. Thank you, Max.
All right, so let's ask a few questions. And remember, folks, as we go through these, if you have other questions, please hop in and ask them. The first question is, what metrics would you use to measure success for this process? And you both can answer that.
Yeah, so I'll let Max answer from a kind of an implementation and a maybe a technical standpoint. But I would, from through my lens, right, as a customer success advocate or customer success lead, right, there's really a couple of ways that you could look at this, right? Both internal and external metrics, right? But for purposes of this conversation, let's talk about external, right? So the way that we measure success with our customers is really largely in part based on the feedback that we get during the survey process, right? So the survey I mentioned earlier that we kicked off earlier this year is a pretty straightforward, simple process. It's, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your overall satisfaction with Turntide as your partner, right? That is a metric, but that number, there is definition behind that number. And so we asked very specific questions that would help us understand why a customer may or may not have rated us a certain number, right? And so it gets into literally every touch point within the customer journey with Turntide. So whether that's the procurement process, the support process, working with the sales team, what have you, it's really understanding the customer sentiment based on their experience working with Turntide. And so, those are metrics and numbers that we can look at. But I think ultimately, if you were to ask my opinion, how do you gauge how successful you are with your customers? Some of the telltale signs to me are they willing to stand up at a trade show and speak on your behalf? Are they willing to serve as a reference to new potential customers that you may have? Will they participate in a white paper, right? So I think all of those things are what I would say indicators in terms of how successful we are with a customer as it relates to the overall relationship and experience that they're having with Turntide. So I'll pause there and let Max contribute any around the technical side of it, he will.
So I suppose my answer is perhaps a little bit more quantitative. Within the process, we have direct measurable numbers that we can use to answer that. Things like what's our turnaround time on response for complex technical questions? How long has it taken us to get a customer through each of the stages? How many issues have we had or identified during a design review process? We have metrics on all of those things, but also at a team level, how many customers are we currently able to support or are supporting? How many team members are competent in supporting a certain product or application? So we've got a lot of measurables that we can use to understand how we're performing in terms of supporting customers, and indeed do use those measurables too.
That's a good thing. Yeah, use the data you have, right? So another question, and this may be more for Max. What are some major advantages of a collaborative and systems approach process like you've described today?
That's a great question. I'm going to start with a sort of a peripheral answer, if you like. I mean, ultimately, we observe in the industry other perhaps competitors, other companies not having this collaborative, not having this systems approach, and what that leads to is reports to us of, oh hey, I use these guys and they just sold us the product and we haven't really heard from them since. We've had a few issues. Can you guys provide an alternative product and better support? I mean, ultimately the advantages are that, like I said earlier, we get it right first time. So because we're collaborative, because we're understanding those requirements a lot more, we get the right product into a customer's hands the first time round, and that means that we reduce development costs, we reduce the cycle time on development, we make sure that a customer has less issues that need resolving. Ultimately, it's the things that are really important to customers. So success, time, and money when we're looking at the development of a product here.
Excellent. Forming more of a partnership than just selling a part and saying, see ya.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us and presenting. This was an informative presentation. Attendees, thank you for joining us as well. This webinar will be available on demand in about 48 hours. This is our last webinar for 2025. We hope you'll join us in January 2026 for our State of Electric and Hybrid Industries webinar. And we hope you have a great week. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.